Hey everyone, welcome to the Vegan Stew. I'm Helene and I'm excited to be here. I'm back in my normal background, which is great because that means I'm home, which I like to be. So let's say thank you to Rebel Cheese for sponsoring our lives this month, which is also awesome because they are adding to our Wish Pond contest for the month of March, where that means we'll have 7 prize packs in March. Rebel Cheese will be one of them. But for now, we've got 6 prizes, which you can go to virtualvegfestlive.com and enter by hitting the contest tab, enter the Wish Pond, and you can win prizes from like Fabulous and Hodo Foods and Follow Your Heart and Revolution Gelato and Terra Seed. And Kimberly, who's my other one? It's not I don't know. I don't know why I can't remember all 6 of them, but there's 6 of them, and I'm glad I remember Fabulous because they've raised $1 million, which is pretty awesome with their funding campaign for their company, which we supported at Triangle Veg Fest. So just a reminder, you can comment, you can add questions, you can be part of the show. How do you do that? Well, you can just put in a little box and we definitely will get to you. I promise. We'll do our best. And you also want to go and watch us on YouTube, live or later. And one of the ways to know that we are going live is to hit the little notification bell and subscribe on YouTube to the Vegan Stew. And you can go to Virtual Veg Fest and subscribe there too. Great topic tonight. This is like our reboot from last week. Everyone's tech issues seem to be fine. Marla Rose, you can hear her for more than 10 seconds. And it was a really important topic because we wanted to definitely talk about, is your news source trustworthy? And we're going to find out. So let me bring the Stew crew in. We've got Kelly from Climate Healers. We've got Marla Rose from Vegan Street, who I hope is not frozen. We've got Kimberly from Did You Bring the Hummus? We've got Dawn from Urban Eats, and she's our educator. And we've got Laura from Be Kind. Awesome. So ladies, I'm going to, who wants to go first with our current events?
I wasn't here last week. I'll jump in.
Okay.
I'll jump in. So, and it's the health thing. We'll get that right on the top of the day. So something as interesting as Mayor Adams doing what he did in New York, even bigger though, the European Parliament on the 22nd has put out a call for the European Parliament has put out a call for the EU to promote a plant-based diet to reduce meat consumption in order to fight cancer. They're targeting cancer as it is their second biggest killer. Just like here, it's our second biggest killer. And it's just very different that they're trying to get it into the legislative side of things, and which is very hard, especially in the EU with all the other things that are going on in the EU right now. But the new strategy shifts the focus from drug testing to preventative research, and they really focus on carcinogenic chemicals, and include promoting a plant-based diet to reduce chronic disease. With meat, ultra-processed foods, high fat and sugar and salt and fatty foods. The other benefit to that is the reduction of animal testing. They also have a component in there for animal testing. They tested 1 million animals. They did, testing on 1 million animals last year. And they do that everywhere. It's shameless. But in this new way that they're doing it, they're also looking at a strategy to invest in non-animal biomedical testing. That's also a part of this piece. And in doing that, their Humane Society International rep, Dr. Joanna Swab, was excited to hear that the European Parliament was looking at the risk factors associated with animal products. And she was excited about the protective benefits of a more plant-based diet. So it's really a big step. They're better than us on health, but this is really exciting. I'm excited because it's on the health side and it covers the animals too. So it's like, let's see where it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who's next? Laura, you weren't here last week. You go next while you drink your water.
Excuse me. So we had news about bullfighting this week. Let me actually look that up because my phone decided to be weird. I had notes. Does somebody else want to go while my phone reloads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly?
Yeah. Okay. So, Billie Eilish, once again championing veganism, has taken to Capitol Hill to voice her support of the Healthy Future Students and Earth Act, which was proposed in June of last year by Nadia Velasquez and Jamal Bowman, sorry, I hope I got those names right, which is a legislation that seeks to establish a voluntary pilot grant program that incentivizes school districts to serve plant-based, plant-friendly, and culturally appropriate meals. And the way that it works right now, is the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Programs is designed to like reward schools for serving animal products, particularly dairy. And the federal regulations stipulate that program participants can't discriminate against the drinking of cow's milk before school, after school, on school grounds, or any social sponsored events. And this new legislation is looking to divert funding to plant-based foods and beverages that are obviously healthier for the children and the environment. And because the majority of lactose intolerant children in America are children of color, it will reward school districts that choose food programs that are suitable and nourishing for all children. And I just wanted to do a quick quote from the article from Eloisa Trinidad, who is the local support for New York City. She made a really great point. She said, we must continue to right the historical wrongs of colonialization, which have led to a great disparities, healthy food security and environmental justice, most of which is felt by Black, Indigenous, and students of the global majority. So this is really great news to add to what the mayor's doing as well.
That's fantastic.
I just want to add to that too. I know Billie Eilish is the big name because she's a pop star, but Genesis Butler, who is the just one of the, I don't know her, I wish I did, one of the most impressive children that I have ever been exposed to, and she has been heavily involved in this. So I just wanted to call that out. Find her on Instagram, follow her. She's just incredible, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows her name in addition to Billie's being attached to this.
Yes, thanks, Kimberly. Yeah, I know Genesis is one of the leaders in the youth climate change movement.
Yeah,
Genesis is amazing.
She is.
And her mom is too. She's got
Yes.
lots of siblings as well, including a new one that's I think she's starting to walk yet. She's starting to walk. When you have 5 older siblings, the youngest one tends to be way advanced because you got a lot to learn from. Yeah, great family. They're a fantastic family. They're located in California. So Marla, you want to go?
Yeah, I just saw it. It's still a story. I'm trying to understand a little bit better. But the latest news, there was a recent poll of vegans in the UK. There are something like 10 million more vegans in England alone, just this year, since last year. So they did some kind of poll. I'm still, like I said, I'm still looking into it, but 10 million more people in this little kind of really tiny country. And what do you guys think? Does that sound? That's fake news. Sorry.
Amazing. I never thought, when I was a kid, that it would have grown this dramatically and this fast.
Right.
That's so funny.
Oh,
Laura, do you want to go?
yeah, sure. So, I'm sure Marla may need to help me on pronouncing the name of this state. But, we all know that bullfighting is very popular in Mexico, unfortunately, and thousands of bulls get killed every year in a very gruesome way and on stage, which to me is just one of the most disgusting acts still. And how it's a sport to this day, I'm not quite sure. But this is the 5th state in Mexico to ban bullfighting. So it's Sonora. Am I saying that right? Marla, do you know?
What was that? What was your question?
Am I saying that right? Sonora?
The name of the state in Mexico?
Yeah.
You were kind of going in and out, so I didn't hear the whole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sonora? Is that how you say it?
I think so. I actually
Okay.
listened to it. It actually is pretty close to how it's spelled. You know.
Okay, perfect. I feel like I'm winning then. So they have now been the 5th state to ban it in Mexico, which is huge news, especially in a country where this is very traditional and part of their culture. This is very big news and very enlightening news, and yet a step towards furthering our mission. So that's the enlightening news of the week.
That's awesome. Thank you, ladies. So to lead into our topic, and we had real news stories, and we had a fake news story. And did you know, while you were listening to Marla speak, that that's not true? But how do you figure that out? And when you share something, do you vet it? Do you look up anything? Do you just share it? Do you share something from somebody that you know? Hi, Diane. Thanks for joining us again. We like you. How do you know that that what you're sharing, even if it comes from somebody that you know, like you've known for years, that they couldn't have shared something that isn't true, but they do. We all do. We've all forgotten to go to Snopes. We all just kind of trusted that source and just went with it. But Marla, how do we figure it out? How do we figure this out?
Well,
Help us.
well, first of all, I kind of want to give a quick little definition of what the term is around of media literacy. It's just like basically we're bombarded with, we have so many websites and so many links that cross our paths every day. And there's an actual term for discerning what you're sharing. And it's called, ideally it's called media literacy. So this is the definition that I liked the most. It's the ability or skills to critically analyze for accuracy, credibility, or evidence of bias the content created and consumed in various media, including radio and television, the internet, and social media. So basically, it's engaging with your, what you're planning on sharing and using your skills of discernment to determine if that seems valid. Now, I don't like the term fake news because it reminds me of someone.
So, it's triggering, right?
Someone who was a gross spreader of it. So I call it fabricated or inaccurate. I mean, it's longer syllables, sorry, information. But basically, I want to start out tonight by saying we've all done it. And by the way, that's my cat jumping on here. We've all done it, almost always accidentally shared something that, is questionable, sketchy. Have you ever shared something that you learned later was inaccurate? And how did that make you feel afterwards? Did it make, so I'm curious if anyone, sorry, my cat is deciding to rub on my laptop right now. So anyone want to share what that make you feel stupid? I'm sorry, Helene, sorry, she's
take care of the kitty cat. Probably good thing he wasn't able to join us tonight. So I on MLK Jr.'s birthday or holiday, because it wasn't his exact birthday, on the holiday, posted a quote that got flagged by Facebook and Instagram as not false, but not necessarily true. Mm-hmm. And I forgot because I'd posted previously, and I just kind of went into my PicMonkey and went and found something instead of recreating something. And I shared it, and I was like, oh yeah, there's something wrong with this quote. It was a great quote. Mm-hmm. No one can prove if he said it, and no one can prove if he didn't. Mm-hmm. It seems like something he would. Yeah, it seems like something he would say, and he's alluded to the words, but maybe not have said exactly those words. And that's under all those posts everywhere that I posted it. But I left it up because it's not false, but it's not true either. So, and I got questioned. This says it's not true. I was like, did you read what Facebook wrote about it? They said they can't prove that it's false. But if you research into, oh, Don, if you research into kind of what he said something similar to it. I
Right.
mean, so I know for next year to do better, because I just, it was just already out there. So for me to go and pull everything, it's for me, it's not just my own personal page. It would have been
Right.
about 20, 30 places to pull it down.
Mhm.
And since it wasn't truly false, but it wasn't truly true.
Right.
So Don, what do you have to say?
Oh, so I was just gonna jump in and say I have never professionally quoted anything, so I wasn't gonna really say anything about yours except for, did you go look and vet it after? And you said you did. You'll do it next year. You didn't this time.
Right.
But because people are always looking for information on health, and because that's kind of what I do, I have to make, so I don't do that. I vet it before I post it. And even when I do quotes from doctors and anything that I put up or stat, because people are critically looking for health reasons. So I have to be like on point. I can't not have it accurate. And I usually will have the study nearby, and I have a whole list of stats and studies. I'm sorry about that noise. I'm outside. Yeah, I tend to, I don't do that. Personally, I'm sure I've gossiped personally about some kind of random thing, but never professionally, and never on any social media. I will put I'll put my opinion, but that's not the same as quoting somebody or misquoting. And I wouldn't put a health stat or a climate stat or anything, any kind of stat, without vetting it through proper sources.
Right. There was, thank you, Don. There was a, by the way, there are ways that you can, I think it's called like Quote Investigator. A lot of times these quotes are kind of famously attributed to people. And so if you, it's almost like a Snopes of quotes. But yeah, something had popped up in my feed of allegedly Oscar Wilde said something about like, it was so outlandish, like only hang out. Oh God, I'm breaking up. Okay, only hang out with those who make you feel better, or something like that. It's like this 19th century writer would not be talking about hanging out with people. So it was a quote from Olivia Wilde, who's an actor, and attributed to him, which is funny to me. but anyway, that is a common form of misinformation, is these quotes that are misattributed to people. So was there anyone else who wanted to jump in now, or I could keep going?
I will. I have scissors because I totally forgot my spatula. So I know for sure there's been several occasions I've done it unknowingly. And I remember the first time I really did it was right when Trump got elected, and my dad posted something. And he's like typically the master of fact checking, and this one kind of got past him. And it wasn't a huge disparity; it was very slight. But it was like misquoting somebody or something like that. And I remember another time there was like a kind of like an onion piece, and I didn't know it was satirical, but because it was during the Trump era, I was like, well, this has to be true because nothing, So I think more than anything, what just really I think is so shocking is how in this day and age is all this fake news allowed, and why are we allowing it to continue, and why are people giving it such credibility in a way? Because they're resharing it, they're promoting it, they're doing all these things. And you're going to put the Onion out of business. You know what I mean? Like, basically, it's just like, yeah.
Trump,
so it's yeah, exactly. So I think to me that's what's really interesting and surprising, is that somehow we're okay with it because nobody's doing anything to change it, and that's what kind of boggles my mind.
Right.
What do you guys think?
I'm sorry, Kimberly has something to say.
Yeah. So as you're talking, Laura, I'm remembering all of the posts I've seen in the last 5 years from people in my Facebook feed sharing things that were flagged because they were, completely false. Statistics even that they were including that were completely wrong. And when you come across that post, it's grayed out, and it right across it says that it's incorrect, right? And then there are links to correct information. Those people did not take those posts down, and they doubled down in the comments. There's so much emotion attached to it. They almost can't even face that what they're sharing is incorrect because they want so badly for it to be true.
Right. I have noticed that myself, and also, you know, as with everything in life, information, quote unquote, is now politicized. You know, that actual objective, verifiable fact is politicized, and that's really the dark underbelly of what disinformation and misinformation, which is like the milder cousin of disinformation. Disinformation is intentional. Misinformation is saying something wrong, unintentionally. But that's the dark underbelly, is that nobody knows what's true. Dawn?
So I think that people are trying to do something about it. I think that's why flags are happening. I think there are quite a few people trying to make a difference and do something about it. It's just that there's a large proliferation of dissemination campaigns, like we're all saying, and I think it's just a matter of you siphoning through where your algorithms are. I mean, what are you feeding on?
Right.
You need to get people out of your stream.
Your bubble.
And, your bubble, your stream, because the algorithm is sending stuff that you probably don't like, because you might be peering at it and saying, this is crazy, oh my God. And then it becomes a part of your feed. So perhaps kind of change those habits to kind of get that out of your process. And the other thing is, you can always write to your, I'm a poli-sci, I was a poli-sci major, I'm a poli-sci alum. The best way to get any kind of thing done in politics is, your vote. So you really have to talk to your state and local legislators and your, and your federal, make calls, to continue to push them to, to try to force these social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, all the big guys to continue to do that flagging that they're doing. And no, because there's that fine line between that and freedom of speech to write lies if you want. You can lie if you want, you can write what you want, but you should have to vet if you want to be good.
Right.
In your own space, and get rid of those people. People putting crazy stuff, just get rid of them, block them. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to this when we're talking more on strategies. But one of the things that you mentioned about getting rid of the people who are, out of your feed, not literally, but getting
right.
Unfollowing, blocking, whatever, the people who are sharing disinformation is really an important strategy to not click on things that look like disinformation. Kelly, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add, when it comes to like memes with quotes, I see them all the time on vegan feeds, and to me, like, it will be a quote that has to do with animal rights. But then the person who's quoting it, like, very clearly, we know these people aren't vegan. So like I'll read a post, I'll be like, do you really think Keanu Reeves said that? Or do you really think Jim Carrey said that? Like, like, are they the people that we know are part of like the, famous vegan celebrities? So like, does it really make sense? Like, anyone can just, like you said, like, cut some text, put it on a cute picture of some celebrity and make it seem like they said it, right? So to me, it kind of seems like a no-brainer, but I guess not, because I see it all over the place.
Right. Well, and that's, I think, one of the reasons why it is appealing to us is, whenever anyone, whether they're vegan or not, is sharing information, a lot of times it's because it makes them feel better, more, it makes them feel validated. It makes them feel like this affirms my opinion. So vegans are not, just because the information we have about veganism and animal rights is accurate, it doesn't mean that we're exempt of wishful thinking with the quote unquote information we share. Helene.
That's 100% true. I just actually wanted to pop in and say hi to Richard, and I especially wanted to say hi to Blind Guy, his wife, their life, because I just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. John, were you raising?
No, I was waving at hi. I was waving at Blind Guy, his wife, Richard.
I raised massive.
So in my research, I have found, I kind of collated a bunch of different sources that are all, their whole objective is to root out disinformation. And a lot of times it's to teach children how to have media literacy. But the thing is that we know that disinformation campaigns have really targeted seniors. There are a lot of the people who are believing the Fox News stuff or Breitbart or whatever. So we absolutely need to reach people of all ages with better media practices. But, obviously children, but grown-ups as well. I think I'm breaking up a little. Hello. So here's one strategy. It's very straightforward. Is number one, consider the source. So if we're talking about sharing a link, really look into that source. Does it look? Then we'll get more into specifics later. But just your first eye look at it. Does it look amateurish? Are there, again, there will be specifics down here, but like your first blush look at it. Does it look amateurish? Does it look shoddily made? Does it look like, some kid made it in his mom's basement? Basically, there is a reason why professional news outlets have a certain standard, So the first thing is your first blush look at it. Does it look professional? Are there all kinds of pop-up weird ass things going on? That sort of thing. So that's like, again, it's going to vary from person to person, but based on what you know about professional, media outlets, does it look professional? So that's the first, just real quick thing that you can do. Mm-hmm. The second thing is really look at that URL, on the top, the website. A lot of times these days, the false information purveyors, they have learned to use things like that sound newsy as their URL. They might call themselves Gazette or like Tribune, or something that you are associating with valid newspapers, valid news sources. So don't let the URL convince you of anything. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And then again, one of the biggest disinformation websites is the most innocuous sounding RT. It's Russian Times. It is basically a Putin propaganda machine. But so like a lot of times when somebody, 5 or 6, 7 years ago had an anti-Hillary Clinton post, which is fine. There's total, you have every right to think ill of Hillary Clinton, but look at that source. If it's from RT, you are pushing Putin's agenda. So there are a lot of people who are like, well, sometimes the right information comes from the wrong source. Actually, no, like if this is a bad source, do not share, do not pass go. You know what I'm saying? Yes, Kelly.
Yeah, so I just want to add, like, because we're seeing more and more of these like alternative news people pop up, and they're getting heavily funded by people who are not trusting of mainstream media and seeking alternative news. And instead of seeking legitimate, like alternative, truthful news people, they're finding things like Rebel News, Truthers, who are like getting so heavily funded now that they look professional.
Right.
But they're pushing misinformation left, right, and center about the pandemic and everything else, right? So that's the tough thing. And so when you're already suspicious and you're finding these websites that are just like, validating your suspicion, even though your suspicion in itself is disinformation, it makes it so difficult, right?
Right. And that's as true of us as vegans on the left or whatever, who are sharing stuff, is this just confirming your bias, or something you want to see? Do I want to hear that 10 million extra people went vegan in the UK in 2020? Yes, I want to hear that, but does that make it true? No. So you have to be really aware of your own biases, and that we all have them. There's nothing wrong. If you didn't have biases, you would be boring. So we all have them, but we have to acknowledge that we have them and counter them where we can. And there's all these strategies for how to do that. It's not always easy to do. This is the next one. And this is so important as someone who writes for different media outlets. Read beyond the headline. So the headline, that there's a reason why a lot of times it's called clickbait. They are trying to get you to click on it. And again, they're playing into what you want to see, or who you want to rage at, or, whatever it is. So if you do click on it and it seems kind of sketchy to begin with, read the whole article. Does the article does the article engage with what sometimes the copy will not engage at all with the headline. So I have read multiple articles where I'm reading it again and again, like, where is this factoid that was mentioned in the headline mentioned? And they are just counting on you passively sharing, passively engaging, passively. So it's really important to look beyond the headline. And also just ask yourself, is this the kind of headline that is this the kind of headline from a news source that is trusted? Like if they're making outlandish claims, even claims you want to hear in the headline as a way of getting you to click on it, you really have to ask yourself, do I want to be a sucker here? Just a mindless kind of share. Helene, yes.
It's interesting because there's a post going around for locally here in the Triangle that the local newspaper has been posting, and like Sangeeta's usually the only one who would have seen it. And it talks about like a freeway bridge is going to be closed for a year, and you need to plan, what you're going to do. And then you look at the comments, because I haven't clicked on it, even though it comes from the News and Observer, so it's a real paper. But I looked at the comments, they're like, why are they posting about Hickory? Hickory, North Carolina is like 3 hours from here. But the picture is like a local bridge. So I haven't clicked on it yet to figure out like if it really is Hickory or not, but the people are really upset. They're upset with the people about it being about Hickory. They're upset with people bitching about it being about Hickory. People are like, well, don't you just want to know, just in case you go there and you get stuck in hours worth of traffic because the bridge is closed and you have to go through a neighborhood to get through the area? I still don't want to click on it.
Well, and if you can avoid it, you should, because it drives, advertising dollars to these sites, it probably is fairly innocuous, but it's in bad faith, right? It's to drive traffic, and it's contributing to more confusion, more disinformation, more skepticism about valid news, and that hurts us all.
More dissension.
What's that?
More dissension.
I said, yeah, you're becoming part of the problem.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I would say too, the other thing really quick that I always look for two things: any typos. If there are typos, that kind of tells me it's probably not legitimate, because somebody would have quality checked that. And lastly, the type of ad. If you see 5 signs that your liver is failing at the end, chances are it's not a legitimate source. The ads kind of say everything, and the type of ads that are running. So
that is often true. I totally agree, and they say also, to check out the author's byline. Is the author listed, first of all? Does the author have a byline? If the author isn't listed, that's often a red flag, that is just kind of aggregated. you know, a lot of times they just make stuff up out of thin air about their bylines, like, you know, winner of 7 Peabodys and whatever it is. And then the next point is to what Laura was saying, is look at the quality of the writing. Are there a lot of typos? If there are typos, that means it didn't go through an editor or a quality editor. Are there a lot of exclamation points? That's a sign of, like, I mean, I'm the exclamation point queen when it comes to texting, but not professional writing. But it would be a sign of, you know, low standards, low bar. And you know, it's you know, and again, these are all things. What is asking us to do is be less passive in our sharing, basically, and our retention of information. We have to really, you know, do a little digging, and then when you get in the habit of it, it becomes a little easier. I was going to share one more and then kind of open the floor a little bit more, because I have so many. So this is a really important thing. A lot of time, and I saw this happen once on a vegan media site, not Veg News, but a different one. And it's a lot of times when something sounds too good to be true, like the news story, the fake news story I shared, it is. There's a reason for that. It's not always the case, but sometimes it is. A lot of times it is. So there was a local, I'm sorry, not a local, you know, international vegan site that shared some outlandish statistic about how cheese consumption is way, 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 way down. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago, so I can't find it now. But anyway, so what I did is I went to the story, and then I clicked on the original source that they were basing this on. And when I went there, it was simply American cheese, not Americans consuming cheese. The actual American cheese product is down, you know, whatever percentage it was. It wasn't talking about all cheese, you know. So they just ran with that because that's a sexy headline, and that's what vegans want to see, and that's what vegans want to share. So if somebody's making a claim, go to the original source and research that claim yourself. And then also, let's try to normalize sharing stories that are not that sexy, that are grounded in truth, but are not necessarily all the bells and whistles of, oh my God, we're saving the world. Normalize that, because when we're sharing these stories that are kind of based in misinformation, we make it that much harder for vegan media to be seen, like valid vegan media. So anyway, Helene, did you have your scissors up?
No, I've essentially been taking notes.
Okay, cool.
Everybody.
I think Kelly was up and I was up. I think
Okay,
Kelly was
Kelly.
up earlier.
No.
Okay.
Oh, that was. I thought I saw your little red. Okay, so I guess and I'm glad you brought it back to the vegan. You know, the vegan. You were talking about overview, but because the vegan side of it's really, really important, because people, again, vegetation, people look to us to give them information they wouldn't otherwise have. So I agree with you. It's very important that these great tips that you're sharing are, you know, applied specifically when we're going around educating people, when we're going around sharing, because people are looking at us not just as friends, they're looking at us as people that know more than they do about something they're curious about.
Right.
And the thing is,
no, go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, I'm just saying, if it doesn't have a citation, I'm very specific about citations, because it's very, if a story doesn't have a citation or some stat or some place where I can go and hyperlink onto a citation, then it's not something I would share personally. And I would just caution others to do the same, because if it's got to have some kind of stat or site or some kind of correlation with according to that's valid. According to that has a study. I'm big on studies because I'm on the health side. But Same thing goes with animal agriculture and environment. I mean, if it doesn't shift back to something I can verify, it's not sharing, and I'm not sharing it.
Right. Right. I mean, that is such important. I mean, like, it may mean that the thing, I see you, Helene. The things that you're sharing are seen like that. It's not like the big sexy news thing that gets everyone all wild, but you are practicing way more responsible, better habits. Helene.
It's so frustrating. I think Kelly and I talked about this after we finished last week. I don't want to have to get to the point where I have to cite everything that I post on social media. I did that in college. I mean, but if you went to college and you wrote a paper, then you had to cite your sources for that paper. We're educated to do that because you can't plagiarize.
Right.
Because you just can't. You're not supposed to do that.
You're not
But it's happening before our eyes. It's been happening before our eyes for 5 years now. What is blind guy, his wife, their life? I love your name. I follow doctors and their sites and branch out from there for trusted sources. Most people Google and don't have the benefit if it's these sketchy sites popping up first. It's
the
true.
ones that are, you know, they've got the sexy headline, you know, and one of the things I've noticed that a lot of these kind of sketchy sites do is it looks like there's something that's hyperlinked. So you're like, okay, this passes the first, you know, sniff test, but you click on it and they're linking back to their own story about something that like it gives the illusion that this is propped up with facts. But if you click on the link, it's not to something valid. Do you know what I'm saying? I've noticed that, you know, so like you might again look at it real fast and say, oh look, there's links to all these things, but you really have to click through on those links, you know. But Helene, what you're saying is you know, is so true. It's like, I mean, I was an English major and, you know, everything had to be cited. And the thing, what Dawn was saying is like, the bar for us is so much higher than the average person. So the first time we get something wrong or exaggerated or whatever it is, unintentionally, we are doubted on everything. And those same standards, and we can talk about how unfair it is all we want, but those same standards are not upheld to those who are sharing disinformation. And it's sad and it's depressing, but it's a fact. So that's why we have to hold ourselves to these higher standards. Dawn, yes.
Yeah, I agree, but I believe we should have these higher standards because we know things that the majority of the population don't want to investigate or review. We are looking at physicians committee for responsible medicine. We are going to these various different sites. We're going to PCR, you know, we're going to nutrition facts. Wherever we're going for learning. What we don't do is impart learning. So when you impart learning, it's like going back to school. You have to cite it. And what I like to do is do the short videos. I'll do a live and just go on live. And it's easier than me having to type a citation out or type it because people want to engage anyway. They want to look and see what you're talking about and they'll be more receptive anyway. And you can just say, according to the CDC's, and I usually say what particular article, you know, or what particular year so they can find it. But I think it's worth the extra trouble because people don't necessarily, they're curious about veganism. They're not sold. They're curious about whatever change in their lifestyle, but they need you to be right. So it's just one of those extra things that if we're going to be in the education part of this, we're going to have to be like teachers and have the studies and have the stats.
Have the studies.
Or we just don't need or don't post anything.
Yeah, exactly. I think Helene, then Kelly. Yes.
You know, we could have taken this show, and we still can if we want to, and be exploitive. We'll get the views, we'll get the clicks. People will watch. We'll probably get a lot more trolls and a lot more criticism, but we'll get a lot more viewers.
Right.
Right? I mean, we could be like Fox News. We can sit up here and every week BS some of the stuff we're talking about.
Right.
Just to draw you in and make you question. You know, I mean that's what a lot of shows do. But that's not our character.
Right.
And that's why we're not doing that. We want you to think, we want to question, we want you to answer the questions that we pose to you. We want you to research or look things up, but we don't want to stand here and tell you untruths, because then everything that we stand for, it just goes away.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. And when you're watching us, just know that we're all coming from we're coming from a place where we care immensely, because we wouldn't be taking our time to do this if we didn't. And we're resources, all different ways. Kelly,
Right.
go ahead.
Thanks. So, like, for me, I find it even more frustrating, especially when it comes to climate change, because you can get your information and get completely different numbers. So, like, if you believe FAO's numbers, that's 14.5%. If you believe livestock long shadow, that's 51%. If you go to climate healers, it's 87%. So, on the same page. So, and then we're watching all these documentaries, and they all have different numbers. So. It makes it even more frustrating when we can't even come together as to, like, what is, collectively. I don't even know if you could do that, but
Right. I agree with you, Kelly and Susan. Thank you. Don, I'm going to call on you, but one of the things I was going to say is that when Vegan Street, when John and I research our memes, which we do several times a week, we're creating new graphics to try to educate the public. We go with the most conservative source, not politically conservative, but the most kind of, dry, a lot of times government sources and stuff like that, just because some other things can be very sketchy. So, Don, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I agree with everything that Helene said, and what Kelly made a really good point that there are various things depending on which will you follow, especially with climate. Same things, but if you stay in the conservative realm, like you're saying, you're less likely to have you just have to quote if you give them your stat in your study or your thing, then that's true for what you're talking about in that conversation, and you can just tell people vet me. What I do is I always say vet me. I like it. If I'm in a little live, I say vet me like 8 or 9 times. Anyone to see me, I say vet me a whole ton of times because I'm trying to get you to do research. I don't want you to believe me. And I'll say, don't believe me, vet me.
I see.
And I think that's a responsible way to get people studying, because they're curious enough. They're watching us anyway, right? So why not ask them to vet you? It'll give them a chance, but you have to give them some place to go. That's why I always stay with the nutritionfacts.org, PCRM, CDC, Minority Health, OMH, the Office of Minority Health, things that I know have people working there that do the studies, and then I can pull them, or any of the ACLM, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, has some good stats. So mine are kind of easier than climate. Climate can go different ways, apparently. From what Kelly is saying, you can have different numbers depending where you go. And I know PETA is different than Bad News, Planet. All of them can be all over the place, but you just hone in on your area and just tell them to look there at that site. But again, it's also where you vet. Like you said, it's got to be from a legitimate source. It can't be from something wacky. And people ought to know that, but I think people, how like these weird, like the weird stuff. I mean, why are you doing that? You're bored or something's going on. Because why would you even share that? It's probably not true. So you're bored, or you're sleepy.
I love that, Don.
You're sleepy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, that was, and then they fall asleep, and the next morning, you're like, oh my God, maybe that happened. But we got to know better now. We're like really grown people. We know that though some of these sources are really sketchy, even with all the good information. I think people know that. I guess it's why in veganism do people do that in the vegan world, because we're all about going off the beaten path. So why we then go into mainstream messy stuff like that when we're already off the beaten path? Why are we flowing? Do we want to be back in the mainstream? What is going on?
Yeah,
I guess that's the question.
I want to call on Laura, but I think personally, I think a lot of times people do it this is going to sound bad, but I don't mean for it to. It's just with bad intent. With good intentions. They're wishful thinking. They're like desperately trying to break through to people, and their dry facts aren't moving the needle in any way. So, Laura, yes.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great sequitur into what I was going to say, which is I think part of the bigger problem that's happening now is that people don't even believe facts.
Yes, then that's what disinformation does to us.
Yeah, it's now opinions are new facts if they believe them, instead of facts being facts and science backing those facts. And I think that is, you're so right, Susan. They do want validation, and I think that's really the bigger problem, is that we're saying do all of these things, and a lot of people are like, nope, I have my opinion, and now that's a fact because it's my opinion and I want it to be a fact.
Right.
And that drives me insane.
Absolutely. And when we contribute to that, we are adding to sort of the discrediting of our valid information. I think it was Dawn, then Helene. I'm not sure.
No, I was pointing at Helene.
Okay.
It's what Laura said.
Helene was going crazy. Helene
is waving his scissors at me.
I know, it's so frustrating.
It's
people are incredibly frustrating because the reason that they believe what they believe in is because they search out for what they believe,
right,
and they back it up with what they find.
Confirmation.
There's other people that believe that, and they just kind of, it's a cult. That's how cults work. They prey on people who have kind of outliers in society, don't really fit in and believe a certain things or certain way. And they say, hey, we kind of believe that too. We think you're right.
Right.
We're going to help you feel like you're normal in quotes. So you feel comfortable, and then we're going to bring you into the fold, and whatever that fold is, because that fold is in veganism too. That fold is DXE. That fold is the cube people. They have been proven to be cult-like within our vegan movement, which I probably just opened up Pandora's box. But hey, it's, I've seen the behaviors personally. I've been personally attacked by cube and DXE people. And I'm not saying that type of veganism or activism is terrible. I believe that if you get sucked into the mental part where you become cult-like, you got to stop and look and smell the roses and figure out what the hell's going on.
Right. Totally agree. Kimberly, then Dawn. And then after Dawn, I have these last points I want to breeze through. But so Kimberly.
Yeah, just quickly, when you think about like a hypochondriac, right? You tell them, don't Google whatever it is that you're worried about. And the reason why is because they're going to find it. It doesn't matter what you're looking for. The answer that you're looking for is out there.
Right.
So it's very dangerous if you are caught in that like culty kind of mindset, or even just extreme worry.
Right.
Like you can be Googling, how do I treat a hangnail? And suddenly you have cancer.
It's so true. It's so true. I bet. I don't mean to interrupt.
Why give you that hangnail?
I just want to say that I bet if I Google, does vitamin C cause cancer, I will find corroborating, I just made that up out of thin air. But yes, totally. Yeah. Absolutely. Dawn.
Yeah, so quickly. So I think that a lot of people kind of, because we're so in the forest of veganism, we don't see that people outside of us before we got here, we saw all vegans as cult-like. I thought,
except for me,
I was the one. Not all. I'm making a broad generalization. No, it's true. My impression was that most vegans were hippie-like, white, and culty. I'm just being very honest. That doesn't mean I'm right. It's an opinion, like what Laura was saying. It's just an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. That's not true. But I think veganism is bad about making all these subsets inside veganism. There are like too many cabinets in veganism. Just like there are too many types of religion. Like there's too many different or types of churches and groups of Baptists, too many different kind of Christians. It's too many different kind of vegans. We should just be one group of vegans. We should all be on the environmental. We should all be on the animal. We should all be on the climate. And we should all be on the social justice and equity, health equity. We should all be on the same page, but veganism is a mess. And to other people, we look culty in certain parts of it. Like people see the animal thing as culty. I don't see it that way because I don't wear leather. I don't wear anything that pertains to animals, but I did before that. And I thought it was weird when people were saying I can't wear my leather coat. So I thought you were like a weirdo. So that just makes me, it's okay to get people who are kind of interested.
Right.
It is kind of we're a group. Cult is a Jim Jones thing. I don't think veganism is, but I also don't think DSC or Cube is either. I think they're just very passionate, right, about their part of the puzzle, and we need to like embrace all the really passionate vegan people and come up with this one. Again, I think veganism needs to consolidate. I don't think we're very consolidated, and I think if we could get on one page, we'd be a much better movement.
I agree with you. That's a great topic. You know,
that's another topic for another day. But
no, I mean, I'm not even trying to. But my point is, I guess, first of all, I find it like just based on how humans won't even do the barest thing to help each other through this thing. I find it, idealistic that we
right.
But I was gonna say we could get so into our bubble. There's my husband. We could get so into our bubbles that we can forget how we appear to other people. We can be talking to our echo chambers and in our bubbles. And I love my bubble. My bubble is what got me through the Trump years. But it's important to not deceive yourself into thinking that this is the general public,
Right.
So John's commenting there kind of about our meme standards of like how we vet. We're not vet, but like the sources we use. So I do want to we're getting close to the end, but I do want to talk about some of these last things to look for in before you're sharing a source, because these are simpler but important. Number one, look at the date. It could be like just because it's 5 years old or whatever doesn't mean it's invalid, but it could mean that you're recycling something that was already, a news story long ago. So look at the date, see if it's semi-current. The second one cracks me up because it's could it be satire? And it's hard to tell these days, but there's certain websites like the Borowitz Report, the Onion, for example. When we see the URL, the Onion, we know that it's satire. But a lot of times there's satire sites in other countries that we're not familiar with the website.
Right.
So look into that. 10, we talked about a little bit before. Check your own biases. We all have them. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Just know that you have them. Check what information that you're about to share. If it's a news story in particular, if it seems very dramatic, check it against Snopes, check it against PolitiFact, check it against factcheck.org, the Washington Post fact checker. If it seems like a really big, possibly outlandish story, check it against these things, Also, double check. So if you got a bit, I do this all the time, if you got a bit of news information, a news story from one site, just put it in your search engine and see, is it an aggregated story that just everyone's sharing, or is it just unique to this one platform, or is it generating more news stories? So that it would be a sign that it's probably valid, in addition to these other things we talked about, like links to the original source and that sort of thing. The last few things that I want to talk about, and I know we don't have that much time, is we kind of talked about this, but like when we use poor discernment with what we're sharing, what do you think is the overall effect on veganism, for the animals, for each other? Yes, Dawn.
I think, like Helene said earlier, Helene mentioned it earlier on. People are always looking. I think it was Helene that said it. People are looking for us to be wrong, and they're looking for us to have. It might be Kimberly said it. Whoever said it. We are held to a higher standard.
That was me.
Because well, there was somebody. It was some stew crew. Somebody's stew crew. But the point is, we're held to this higher standard, and what happens is our credibility is shot. Mm-hmm. And then we had to rebuild it. And then people say, oh, they don't know what they're talking about
right.
the health or the animals. They don't really. So it just takes one, it's just like your credit. It takes you 7 years if you make a really bad mistake. So it takes you a long time to kind of, fix your stumble, no matter what you do. So, but those are the people that are kind of looking for you to go that way. And they don't really want to do it anyway. Those are the people that are leading. So I guess you never can satisfy everyone, and if you are, you're probably not having a good cause or you're not doing anything really well. So but that's going to happen. I think it just makes people think that veganism is not is more culty. More culty. Right. It's not based in science or statistics. Right. It's based in just belief of passion of animals, and then they go on. I think it makes them that's bad for us.
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of this ripple effect on all of us, including the animals.
All of us, right.
So what we can do is model better discernment, better hygiene, basically, on the media, we share, better discernment. And it really, it requires a commitment of a little time, like you have to look at these things. If something looks exciting and cool and fun and you can't wait to share it, really just take the extra few minutes and look at that source. It really doesn't take that much more than that. Everyone loves, we know this from Vegan Street, everyone loves a very optimistic story or a very enraging story. And I don't mean loves necessarily, but those are the stories that get shared a lot. So as I said before, to quote myself, try to normalize sharing stuff that's just a little less like clickbaity, a little less sexy necessarily, just a little more grounded in reality. So anyway, Dawn, yes.
Actually, Kelly, I'm going to agree. Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, Kelly's been patiently waiting.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to answer your question, Marla, in that, if we don't have credible information to back up the statistics or whatever that we're saying, then I think non-vegans will see us as having like an agenda, because they like to say, you're being paid by PETA, you're being paid by this, you're being paid by that, right? And if we don't have that credibility, then, it makes people more suspicious and, right, less likely to consider going vegan.
Absolutely. Dawn.
And I was going to say, and I agree with what you said, it does make us look like they want to say that as well. But Susan, I took the coursework that Susan is taking, apparently the Whole Food Plant-Based Nutrition certification. And that was something that we had an entire session on, an entire week of coursework on. So that was one of the things we had to study. We had to be science-based, and it had to be data driven, and it had to be statistical, and it had to be journaled. And I mean, we literally did a whole course on that. So I think that's where I came into veganism. So I think that's why I started that way. So I agree with Susan on that. That was, I came in on that side of it.
Right. And I'm sure that.
Oh, she took it in 2016. Okay, cool. I took it in 2017, Susan. Okay.
Right. So Blind Guy, his wife, in their life said, rage is tracked more rampantly by the algorithm because studies show that people are more drawn to conflict than to calm. Whether or not they enjoy it, it's a draw. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you get a little kick, you get a little adrenaline, you get for the feel good stories, you get a little dopamine, but it's super important to vet your your media. And, I don't know what else to say, but except to say that we could probably talk about this for, a month, really. But I know something really important popped in my head, but I don't remember it now. But anyway, this is just a plea to us all, is, myself included, is to hold ourselves to, the highest standards and to normalize better discernment with our media. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Is that generally the stuff that we share is going to be on the, that may be misinformed or disinformation, might be on the more innocuous side of things. But disinformation is deadly. Disinformation kills people. Disinformation causes cultures to go to war with each other. A disinformation tells people that if they get a vaccine, they're going to have be tracked by Bill Gates, and there are plenty of people who believe that. So it's not, we really have to look at it as the serious subject that it is, and so I really appreciate all of you, including the people in the comments, really sharing, best practices. It really is a daily best practice, Helene,
that was fantastic. And that disinformation, we always have to remember that there are people intentionally putting it out there. There are people intentionally causing the dissension. There are people behind that playing us like puppets for an end game. What that end game is, we can try and figure that out. It's not for the positive. It is not for all of our best interests. But I also don't know how to pull people back from those weeds that don't even realize or know that they're in the weeds, because they just got sucked in, because they're part of a team now, part of a family. Part of what I think, I may speak for all of us, may not. What brought us to the veganism is like this, is this support and love from the other people who understand the why that we all have. That is, I mean, we could live in this bizarro world where one day we wake up and we learn that this isn't real. But I know that this is. I have absolutely no doubts. Like Susan said, science is on our side, and science is still fact. It's science. It's hard to manipulate science, so I like numbers. What are you doing? So yeah, so thank you, ladies, once again. Great conversation, and everyone.
I think
who is
Kelly
watching.
had her.
Oh, Kelly, did you?
I was just going to quickly say, for when you are discerning information and you are looking, like we were saying, confirmation bias, and you're looking at these people who might have, are taking their own information from, other misinformation sites, look at the person that you're getting this from. Are they trying to sell you a course? Are they trying to sell you a product? Like you were saying, Helene, they have an agenda as well. Donations, they're asking for donations, things like that. So like you were saying, like they're spreading this information intentionally because they're financially benefiting from that misinformation and playing to people's fears or whatever it is that's driving them to this misinformation.
No, that's great. All right, I'm gonna close this out. So here we go. Bye, Kelly, and bye, Marla, and Kimberly, Dawn. Where am I going? Bye, Laura. All right, thank you once again for joining the Vegan Stew. We really appreciate you. We have bullet points in the comments this time, so it definitely highlights all of what was said. And blind guy, his wife, their life. I hope it's an amazing life that you have, because it seems like just from your title of your YouTube. So thank you. Take care to you as well. Cinnaholic is the other prize pack that you can win on virtualvegfestlive.com if you go to play the contest. Thank you to Rebel Cheese for sponsoring. And remember to be kind to one another, to be discerning, and to make sure that when you share and you do anything like that on social media, to make sure that you just look at it. Look at these bullet points. Marla did a fantastic job of helping us to discern what we're sharing and to make sure that we're sharing is something we probably should be sharing. And Dawn was it was very important what Dawn said is that it's fact. Tell people what the facts are. Source it for them so they can go and research it for themselves. Because when you do it for yourself, instead of just listening to other people, you actually learn it. And then it's something that you go and share to other people. So once again, be careful, wear a mask, be kind, take care of yourselves. And, we'll see you in 2 weeks because we take off the first Mondays. Because I'm pretty sure next week is the first Monday of March. And first Wednesday of March. And then Coach Kayla will be on at 7 p.m. Eastern time for that night. And we will be back the following Wednesday with another lively topic and conversation and current events. So have a great night and we'll see you soon. Subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget, hit the notification bell. Bye.